Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Ollie Show, where you will find special guests, hot topics, and unexpected surprises. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Ollie Show once again. Today, I have a very special guest here, and I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. It's Jade, right?
Yes, it is. It's Jade Summers.
Jade.
Jade Summers.
And we are here to be able to talk about a very unique topic that I think doesn't have enough awareness that has come to our, as far as just to our nation, and that is transgenders. And so when it comes down to transgenders, one question that I wanted to ask you about was if you could just be able to elaborate a little bit from the beginning of what exactly that is for those that don't know.
So you just feel that you were like born in the wrong body, like, and you want to transition to the body that you feel you were meant to be born in from the beginning genetically. But like, I can recall like as a kid, a small kid, probably like the age of like 4, like I always said and like knew in my mind and my heart that I was a girl. And so I didn't know what it was until I got to the age around like 18 or 19. Because I'm from a small town. I live in, I'm from Carthage, Texas.
Carthage? Oh, you really?
Yeah, you know about it?
Well, I'm originally from East Texas as well.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Longview, Kilgore area.
Well, I live in Longview now.
You live in
I
Longview?
live in Longview now.
Oh,
And so, being where we're at in East Texas, I didn't know what trans even was.
okay. Yeah.
I had come across when I started, okay, so people get it confused. As a trans woman, I also am a drag performer and actress,
Okay.
but people like to put those things together, like drag and trans. It's not. Drag is like kind of what you do, trans is like who you are.
Yeah.
So, when I got more involved in the drag scene, I got more knowledgeable on trans. And so I would get ready to this DVD every single day. It was called Trantasia. And this DVD was this pageant of these women, trans women, and it was the first just only trans pageant, like I think in Las Vegas. And they were trying to get a residency show. And I would watch these women
Yeah.
every single day, and they were the most beautiful women I thought. And I was like, I can be that one day. I can do that. So every day when I got ready, I'd put that DVD on for my motivation.
hmm
And but yeah, I've just been living the life.
So when it comes down to transgender, what were you born as?
I was born male
Okay.
legally.
Legally born.
I,
male.
s-
Okay.
I say that because it is like a chromosome difference, and like people like to say that we choose this lifestyle, but I would not choose to like go through half the stuff I went through just to like live my like truth, you know? So yeah, I was born that, and I just hate, I don't know. It gets really touchy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me this, when did you know that you were as far as transgender
So
or going in that direction, we'll say?
eas easily like by the age of 4. I can remember I would,
4? Yeah.
yes, vividly. I remember like having towels on my head. And it's not, so I had a conversation with a guy this
What was the
week.
towel for, like as far as like hair?
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Okay.
to like emulate some like long, beautiful, luscious locks that I didn't have at the time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was like, let me put this towel on. And so this guy brought to my attention, he was like, you're an old school trans woman. And I appreciate that.
hmm
And he meant by that, he was like, you had to grow up not knowing really anything and you had to learn versus where now it's not, it's like shoved in everyone's faces. And when I say that, I mean, it almost is like a fad now.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it feels like a lot of people are transitioning for the wrong reasons nowadays because it's just like,
So there's certain purposes and reasons to be able to.
well, I feel everyone has their reasons, but not everyone's reasons are like mine. I've known since I was a child, And a funny story, I don't know if I
You can do it.
so is when I was a little kid, I was playing with my sister,
Okay.
with the neighbor girls,
Yeah.
and we were outside. I don't even know how this conversation came up, and the girls were like saying something, and I don't know if I guess they were talking about their cooters.
And so you was around at this point, what, 7, 8?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually. And so we were talking about their cooters, and I had said something about mine as
Mhm.
well, and they said, "No, you don't have that." And well, I threw the biggest fit and started crying, and I told them I did. And so then I went home and I told my mom. She's like, "Well, why are you crying?" And she was like, "Allison and Annalie and Lindsay said I didn't have a cooter." She was like, and that's the edited word. She was like, my mom said, "But you don't." And I was like, "Ew." So I was like, I can recall all that as little as I was, knowing that I was in the wrong body the whole time. And like my mom and family was so supportive. I'm fortunate being where we were. My family was so supportive. At that point, my mom quit getting me boys' Happy Meals. She would only get me girls' Happy Meals with my sister, and we'd get Barbies when we go to Walmart.
Mhm.
Like, so I'm fortunate, but it was never like I said, just accessible for me to do. I just had to figure it out and go. And my family did too.
Wow. Okay. So, because that you just answered my next question, because that was going to be one of them as far as when it comes down to as far as just family and
Hmm.
as a whole, what, how was that right there really received and everything? But you're saying your family was really more supportive of it. What about as far as your dad?
Well, so I don't speak to my dad, but like
Was he in your life as a child?
he was in my life as a child. He and my mom divorced when I was like an infant, I think.
Okay.
Um, he was abusive and like he was always very like I guess still is like just mean to me. But like my sister, I would always think she was the favorite, but she's not. He was just resentful of me just like being myself, I guess.
Yeah.
But the rest of my family, like my grandmother, I don't like to put my business, but like it's just I'm fortunate. My grandmother paid for my breast augmentation to like physically start my transition. And then within a month or two after my breast augmentation, she paid for my legal name and gender marker change because she's like, I don't want you getting pulled over and having incidents with an officer saying, well, your license says male and your name is this. It doesn't match your physical appearance. So I've been fortunate with like my mom's side of the family, and I talked to some of my dad's side, but I don't even know where he lives.
So how long ago was that when you did the transition?
So I say I legally started transitioning at the age of 19,
Okay.
but I probably started transitioning in high school.
And how old are you now?
I'm 33.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that's no, I mean, all this right here is really good. Just good information to be able to know. I think we're all as far as like to get a great start, but just being able to educate.
Yeah.
Or you can say something.
I was just saying it's a long journey. Like
Hmm.
it's not an overnight process. Like I didn't start hormone replacement therapy until I was 19 and I could afford it because the endocrinologist, I didn't have insurance and she wanted, it was $900 cash for just the visit.
Yeah,
And so I had to get all that going. But as far as like living every day, I started that in high school and then medically
yeah.
when I was in college at 19 and then at 23 I got my breast. Like it's very vivid for me, but it's a long process and everyone transitions at their own pace. Like I know someone who's almost 70 who just started transitioning. Yeah, it's
And
like
they're gonna go ahead and go through the.
mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
And everyone's transition's different. Some people want to take the full sexual reassignment surgery,
Mhm.
you get that done. Some people are content being pre-op still. Like it just depends. Everyone transitions different, but it doesn't if you I always say does if you fully have the operation or you don't, it doesn't make you any less of a woman or a man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's up here. Does
Okay,
that make sense?
so it's more of a mental thing than you would say, even more of a physical appearance when it does come down to something like this.
Yeah. So my roommate will tell you my roommate had never met anyone trans before me.
Okay.
And so when she first met me, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to pick her brain." And she'll tell me all the time, "You're more of a girl than the girls I know." She was like, "There's no questioning
Yeah.
that you're a girl." She like after she knows me. And so yeah, it's like yeah, up
Right,
there.
right. Okay, okay. You know what? Well, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pause for a commercial break, and then we will be back right after this because I want to go a little bit deeper
Okay.
as far as just educating people more on exactly, what transgender really is and the reasons and the purpose of why people do what they do. We'll be back right after this. All right, so welcome back once again to the Dr. Ollie Show. And I have another very special guest that has joined us on today. As I stated right before we went to commercial break, that we were going to dive just a little bit deeper with being able to really educate people and to understand when it comes down as far as to transgenders. And so I would like to be able to introduce to you guys Miss Catalina. And I want you to, let's just pick up with you just for a moment, just telling me a little bit about how you began your journey on this, as far as in this direction.
Well, I grew up in small town Minnesota, or a small town in Minnesota, so
Okay.
there weren't many options for me.
Yeah.
I actually, it was kind of it was kind of a miracle because I just had to look up and I found this therapist that does he just does telehealth or whatever it's called, online
Yeah.
care for all these little towns in the area. So that was kind of where I started my journey. I finally was able to talk to someone
Hmm.
and able to get the approval and the resources to begin my journey.
Okay. Okay. And when it comes down to where you stand currently right now, so you haven't had as far as the operation or anything just yet, right?
I have had top surgery,
Okay.
just not bottom surgery.
Okay, okay. And so this right here could be for either one of you or both of you may want to answer the question, but just fill me in as far as like, what would you say the best representation comes in of the transgender community would be?
Representation as in, well, like a role model.
That would be a good way to be able to put it.
Well, for me, like I love Laverne Cox. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her,
No,
or if you've seen Orange Is the New Black.
I have.
We
Yes.
so she was the trans actress in there, Laverne Cox. I think that was like her big break. To me, she's
Okay.
such an amazing representation for our community because she's classy. She doesn't have to get naked, and because a lot of times people think we're just about sex, they sexualize us and fetishize us. And she's an amazing, intelligent black trans woman, and she's doing amazing things. And honestly, to me, the best role models are all the actresses right now. Angelica Ross, MJ Rodriguez just won an Oscar, first trans person.
Okay.
So we have all this great people out there doing big things, and they're
So,
ma-
so you said won an Oscar for.
she won an Oscar for Pose,
Okay.
which is a whole show on the ballroom scene, but it focuses a lot on the trans experience
Hmm.
that what we have to go through as trans women. I think it's so funny that all of our stories say small town.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I feel like most of the time that's what it is. And like one of my biggest role models is like Cassandra Cass,
Yeah.
Small Town. It was from that DVD Trantasia I told you about
Yeah.
before the commercial. And so all of them were just small town girls trying to make it big.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty
So,
much.
so
And not,
So with that being as far as the best, then what would you say probably would be the worst representation?
oh,
Because wherever there's good, then evil always is possibly in present as well. What would you say?
Gosh, anyone in a reality show, maybe?
Oh God.
I think
Okay.
anyone has the potential to be the best or the
Yeah.
worst. I don't like to like pigeon or like put people in groups, like categorize people because I don't want to say the sex workers because um, unfortunately that's what trans
They might
women
not
have to
have
do.
another choice.
Right.
No,
And
another
that's all
choice.
because where I'm from, like I've got turned down jobs because I'm trans. I got hired at a salon because I do hair and makeup
Yeah.
as well when I'm not acting in films.
So do
And
you just inform them like immediately, like when let's say you go and take on a job somewhere, and you just let them know automatically, or I mean, how does
no,
that
I
really
don't even
work?
tell
I
them.
don't
So,
tell them. No
Okay.
one knows unless I tell them.
yeah.
But um, it was a small town, so the woman knew my family. And after she hired me and I signed a contract and everything,
Yeah.
she called me back and said, "I'm sorry, we're going to go in a different direction."
Oh
So then I went to
wow.
another salon, and the woman told me, "I just think you're better fit for a bigger city." And
Hmm.
so I don't like to put girls or men, any trans person, like high or low. I just think everyone's doing the best they can
Hmm.
with what they have because a
Yeah.
lot of people when they come out as trans their families kick them out
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't have the financial resources or just the resources in general to like get their hormone replacement therapy or doctors or the telemedicine any they don't have the resources available to them,
Hmm.
so then people call them like a man in a wig. This is trans women walking around that just they're doing the best they can. So I don't like to say we have any bad role models or people in our community because
None that I'm aware of.
yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like everyone's doing the best they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when it comes down as far as like how old would you say that you were when you found out that, or when you discovered like this is really the direction that I want to go in?
How my work was with that?
No, I'm just saying, like, how old were you, like, as far as
Oh,
age
I
wise?
was 29. So I started pretty late, I
Okay.
suppose.
Wh-
I have a friend who started even later, and she looks
I don't
fabulous.
think 29 is late at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
because
you.
even though you wasn't a part as far as right before the break, what you said 70?
In their 70s, someone
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. It is
Mhm.
this woman, and then someone else was in her 60s. She was an instructor at a cosmetology school, and she just decided one day, I don't give a crap anymore. I'm just going to live the life and be me.
Exactly.
And she's walking around, her little legs, her little toothpicks,
Hmm.
and she's walking around like Dolly Parton. She went and got her done,
Mhm.
her breasts done, and she's just living her best life, and it's at any age. So
Yeah.
that's I told him earlier as well, like everyone transitions at a different pace.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And that's what people don't understand. They think that you should start
like when you're
young.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
teen. Yeah.
it's you need to be like 100% certain because it can be dangerous
Hmm.
in more ways than one, culturally and biologically,
Well, it's
if
like
you mess around with that.
I'm glad you said that because it goes into like some people, I don't know personally, but I know people that he knew a woman and
Hmm.
she, which is, it's why it's important. You have to do the things the correct way
Yeah.
and go to your doctors. And this woman didn't. She wanted, and that's why it's a 2-year process just to even get the sexual
Oh,
reassignment surgery.
okay.
You have to do it. Like you have to
Hmm.
live the life minimum 1 year as the
Okay.
gender you are
Or
choosing to
choose
live
to
as.
go. Okay.
Okay. And then you have to go see 2 therapists
Hmm.
during this time as well. And then they both have to approve you for surgery. So this is not just
Mm.
something anyone can just go and do. And meanwhile, you're having to do your hormone replacement therapy for the rest of your life. But
Hmm.
this woman chose to skip that and she went to Mexico
Hmm.
and had the surgery and was not mentally prepared for that and came back and killed herself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hmm.
And I appreciate you guys just really educating us a little bit more on this because I mean you're doing even more. For example, like I think one of you stated something about as far as reality shows just a moment ago, but
Hmm.
this is even better than that because like for example with the Kardashians,
Hmm.
Bruce Jenner had made the transition and everything over to Caitlyn,
Hmm.
and this is stuff that people they'll just see okay went from male to female but we don't get the insight as far as like
Hmm.
you just stated. I mean I would never known or never even thought about it. Thought it was okay, you got the money, you could go ahead. I mean if this month you say that I want to do this, it may be 2 or 3 months to get scheduled and everything and it's done.
Yeah.
I never would have thought okay you're saying a year, two
Two,
years
two
wow.
years.
Yeah, you have to live like two
Wow.
years as a
Hmm.
woman, get approved from two different therapists.
Yeah.
Like, and
Oh.
to like just get my gender marker changed on my passport, I had to have my doctors write letters that said I've transitioned far enough where my transition is not reversible.
Okay.
See, I was lucky. I grew up in a small town, so I could just walk into the courthouse and just tell them, like, hey,
I want to make the
there
change and
wasn't
then pay the
much
money and
paperwork for me.
Let me tell. So when I changed my name,
okay.
which
Yeah.
is a difficult process, well, it's not difficult, but like it's difficult to change your gender marker
Yeah.
unless you've had the full surgery.
Really?
I'm yes. Well,
Wow.
in Texas it is.
Okay, in
Hmm.
Texas.
And so I had gotten my name changed in small town, and so I didn't
Mhm.
have to go to court or anything.
Mhm.
Luckily, because I who wants to stand? It's kind of embarrassing to stand in court and they call you up by your. I call it my dead name. They call it that you have to
Good.
stand up.
Okay.
I'm gonna start using that.
And then they're like, "This is why here." So I knew the judge. He knew my family. So the day I filed the paperwork, they said, "Just come back when he's back from lunch. He'll sign the papers and it's done."
Hmm.
So he signed it, and then I walked downstairs to the driver's license department, and I went to change all my information, my name and gender marker on that. And the girl, she was like, "Oh," I was like, "What are we doing?" She's like, "I was like, we're changing everything but my address on my license." And she's like, "Okay." And she started looking at the paper. She's like, "Did you get a divorce?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Did you get married?" And I said, "No, just keep reading the paper." And she's like, "Oh, this is so cool." And then she got to the gender marker part to change it. And she was like, "Oh, can I do this?" And I was like, "Yes, baby. Look, he signed the paper right there. Just check female. Just go, yes, switch it over." And she was like, "Okay." That's how I got mine.
That's cool that she was excited.
She was. That's how I got mine changed. Otherwise, they
Yeah.
would have left it as male.
Oh, that
Mm.
But
was.
your social security card will still say the assigned gender at birth
Hmm.
Hmm.
until you have had the full operation. And
Hmm.
but I mean, who cares about it? It's just a card with a name on
Yeah,
it.
I mean, who's going that deep other than
Right.
you know.
employers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's funny because Minnesota it's completely different. My social security card does have my name on it now.
Mine has my new name on it.
Yeah.
But it will, if they pull it up in the computer system, I will identify as male on that end. But my driver's license and birth certificate and passport all say female. However,
Yeah.
Wow.
Social Security does not.
Okay.
It's funny because I'll get calls for my dead name. I use that
You like
now.
that, don't
I'm
you?
like, you obviously don't know who I am, or else you're gonna be using that name. So I just like,
Wow, interesting, interesting. Okay, so I think we're going in a good direction with this right here. But I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a commercial break just for a moment, and we're gonna pause. But when we come back, I do have a couple more things that I want to be able to just highlight just for a moment before we actually conclude our show. So we'll be back right after this.